Do, 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 do. And welcome to this episode of Vision Alignment, where we all need to understand that we have blindness in our lives. We all have blindness in our lives. If we can understand that, and if we can go forward, then it'll make all the difference in the world. So I want to make sure that you understood that the premise for this show, again, is to help everyone to understand that their core beliefs, their core values, their core strengths really need to be in alignment with their vision, where they're going. Because if they're not in alignment with their vision, you're going to lead in different ways. And you want to make sure that your vision sets you on a proper course. So I've got a special guest coming on today, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about where he started with his own vision and when is the first time. And I'll ask him Wallace. Hello, how are you?
I'm great, Brian. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful, thank you. So tell me, when is the first time or first recollection that you have of your own vision?
Well, vision's really important to me. I teach that to all my audiences. I guess it was in my mid-20s. It was 1989 to be exact. 88. It was in the summer. I had a dad near terminally ill and a mother who was a high-level executive at Chase. And, his illness got to her, so she passed out the wheel of the car one day, and a tragic accident, car explosion, bringing down a Porsche dealership. And in the span of a second, I had two parents near death. So I handled that emergency. They survived. But after a month, I realized that what I was doing professionally was just not doing it for me. And what I learned at that moment was, our time is limited. So what do you want to do? And I realized I wanted more control over my career because I was in the computer industry in the 80s where there was a lot of turmoil and I got tired of it. So I left and started my own business. And my business was as a coach, as a speaker, as a consultant in the area of sales and leadership. And I never looked back since then. That was in November 1988.
Wow. To hear more, stick around. Wow, that's incredible. Great story. So
Yeah.
you really answered the first question that I had for you to tell me your story. So I think that does a great job for all of our people that are listening on the call here today to understand that we all have a story in our lives. And if we can understand that story and what it means to our vision, then things are going to change for us for the better. If we can then begin to adjust our vision, then it'll make even more of a difference. So tell us a little bit more, Ron. I'm sorry. So this is Ron Karr. Ron Karr, tell us a little bit more about your business and what you do. And I'm going to go away for a little bit.
So what I do is I speak at conferences and I have retainer clients on board where we help them build high-performing sales culture. So we deal with the leadership, we deal with the sales process and the sales organization. We deal with the entire company, quite frankly, because to have a high-performing sales culture, you need everybody involved. So that's what we do, and we're doing it well. The book Lead Seller, Get Out of the Way, which has been a CEO bestseller, still out there, doing very well. And we're coming out with our new book on the velocity mindset in 2 months.
Wow. You've got a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff, and yeah, like everybody else, right? It's what you make of it.
Yeah, that's great. So tell me, what do you think the biggest factor in your success is?
Tenacity.
Tenacity.
I once had a manager when I was in sales, and he said, Karr, you always go to the edge of the cliff, but you never fall off. And so I never stopped going to the edge of the cliff. And it was at a young age that I developed that, because I had some issues at home that I had to constantly navigate. And then I had a speech impediment. It prevented me from enunciating the letter R. So think about that. You have this impediment, and you can't, I was set up for failure from the day I was born, because my name is Ron Karr. So if you can't even enunciate your name, how are you going to be attractive to to others? So I had a lot of bullying and ridicule, and I finally worked for 2 years to get rid of it. And who would have known that 40 years later, I would have been on the main stage in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, at the Marriott Hotel, accepting the presidency of the National Speakers Association. So,
wow, that's a great story. So you've obviously worked through some of your hurdles in life. Are there other hurdles that you're still working on?
Oh, I constantly work on hurdles. Look, I've had 18 surgeries. I had between 2013, after my presidency, 2014 and 16, we had 9 surgeries, mostly on my back. Half my back is fused, so I had to learn how to I had to deal with the pain, and I obviously lost a business, but I'm fine. And then as I was getting my plan for rebuild, COVID hit, so then we had to pivot again, and I was looking to move to Florida, and that got stalled because I had a emergency open heart surgery to fix a valve that we knew was leaking, since I was born. So it's that tenacity, and it's that concept of failure is not an option and never to give up that has kept me going.
Yeah, so that tenacity is more than just not willing to give up, but it's also you've got a growth mindset, right?
Well, yeah, I'm always looking at how I can do things better and different, and what I've been doing in the last 3 years when I developed the new brand, the Velocity Mindset. At age 64, I was looking at areas of significance in my life, and what did I like and what did I did not like that I didn't do. And if most people do that, you will see that the things that prevented us from going forward is sometimes the stories we tell ourselves. So, things happen to us. Someone may say something to us. The question is then, do you make a story as to what that person really meant, or do you create your own story? That was something that I had a very hard time to do, because, all the ridiculing when I was young, and not a great relationship with my father. I had stories when I was young, how I wasn't qualified, I was a fraud and all that stuff, and I had to work through that. But you still work through that. We work through our stories every day until the day we die.
So how do you help people with their stories and reshape them in their minds? Because there are a lot of people, a lot of us out there who struggle with what's going on in our minds, how we're telling ourselves our own stories about how we're not good enough, or how we can't do this, or how we can't do this, how we shouldn't be doing this, you're not qualified, whatever. So how do you help people with that?
Well, first of all, those fears, I'm a fraud, I'm not qualified, are very well known. A lot of people have it. Tom Hanks was even quoted as saying that his biggest fear is finding out that he was a fraud, in all his movies. And yet he's very successful. So it happens to a lot of people. It's the first thing you have to understand. But what I heard from a coach that I hired when I was abused when I was a young kid, not sexually, just physical, verbal, because my dad was a Holocaust survivor, and it's been proven that Holocaust survivors sometimes are shot mentally. So, they can't deal with the emotions. So my story was, how I wasn't good, using the words that he used on me and all that. But, like I was taught, he's doing it from his own world. He loved me. That's probably not what his story was, but yeah, it's what I took it to be.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is we have to ask ourselves, okay, what's the story you're telling you, and what is the story you want to create? What I teach my clients is, if you really want to work with vision, which is the first thing you have to do, The key thing is to create your vision of what you want to create without the biases and experiences of the past. What I mean by that, if you're still living under those old stories, you're going to create the same thing happening again. But if you truly want to create something different for yourself, you got to sit with that blank piece of paper and write down, if you don't have those barriers from the past and everything, what do you really want to have for your life? Be bold and write it down. And then you use your past experiences not to drive your behavior, but you learn what worked and what didn't work in the past to help you get to that new vision.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I love it. That's very cool. So while we're at a good stop, a good break here, but I want to make sure that anybody on the line, put in hashtag live if you're listening live, put in hashtag replay if you're listening to the replay. Also, if you would, do me that favor of put in a copy or a picture of you winking. And the winking is not so much that you're making fun of me because I have a permanent wink, but my wink is to help people understand that there's something in their life that we can make something positive out of. So what we're doing by winking and having you wink with us is to help us to understand that we are all unique in our own certain way. So what makes you unique? If I can know what makes me unique, and it's not my eye, it's my positive personality, then you can understand how something makes you unique as well. So that's important. If you do that for me, I would appreciate it. And as always, share this video out with other people. That's great. That's how we make this community bigger. So having said that, Ron, tell me what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Listen, trust, and act. When I was writing my new book, The Velocity Mindset for Leaders, and we're all leaders, by the way, because we all have to lead our lives appropriately to get to where we want to be. I started working on a lot of information on intuition because I remember a colleague of mine 30 years ago told me how important it is. And intuition, we have the heart and the mind. So if you're looking to make a decision and you're thinking too much about the issue, you're doing with the mind. But that's the second thing. Where's your heart? Where's your passion? So if you're looking to tap into your intuition, that's the answer that comes immediately to you. So I ask myself, is this something I should do or not? And if the answer is no, I don't analyze it. I just move away because I know that there's in my subconscious all those experiences that has given me that answer. So intuition is really a big part. And it actually saved me because when I made the decision to move to Florida to escape the winters in New York, we signed a lease at the end of September. And then a week later, my intuition said, you got this heart valve issue and, they've been monitoring. It's been getting tighter. Maybe you should do an echo before you leave. And I did. And the cardiologist pulled the fire alarm and said, you need to have this replaced before you go. So that's an example of working on your intuition. And Paul Dominguez, a colleague of mine, told me the 3 magic words: listen to yourself, trust it, and act on it.
Listen, trust, and act.
And those are the words from Paul Dominguez.
Paul Dominguez. And how did Paul come into your life?
So I took a couple of enlightenment programs through Landmark, the forum and the advanced forum. And Paul was the facilitator for a couple of the communication courses that I took. And then we became lifelong friends. And, we've had a lot of conversations since then.
That's good. Good. So you're also exhibiting that you went to a coach. So you had a coach, right?
Oh, I always have coaches. I still have coaches today. We all have coaches. I mean, Michael Jordan was arguably the best basketball player ever. And yet before he'd go to the Bulls Stadium to do the game, he'd have his private coach, come to his house where he had a full basketball court and do a 2-hour practice. And then he'd go. Why do you have a coach? Because the coach can see your blind side that you can't. We all get in the slumps. We all get, we're all of a sudden we feel so carefree. We're hitting the ball. We're hitting home runs. And then all of a sudden we can't even touch the ball. And usually it's just one little thing that you're doing a little wrong here. Maybe hesitating a little bit more, the angle, maybe or whatever. So a coach is not really there to fix you. No one wants to be fixed. The coach is there, a good coach. Where do you want to be? and they look at the process that you're using it, and they can see some things that may impact your success significantly if you just make this one little tweak.
And it could make all the difference in the world.
Oh yeah, even the top CEOs had coaches. Jack Welch had a coach to the day he died. So how do you stay on top of your game?
Yeah, that's great information. It's very appropriate. So tell me a little bit about a key practice or a tactic you keep coming back to.
So, I've been doing a lot of work with the subconscious, because the subconscious, as we've seen by books by Dr. John Sunno, can actually create pain. Like, I had a lot of back pain all my life. And his theory is a lot of it is not structural. A lot of it is because when the mind gets close to the subconscious, we get to things we don't want to talk about. And so the mind is powerful enough to create a diversion pain. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I learned is, how do you get into your subconscious? So I had a friend, Al Parinello, who's very successful. We were both past presidents of the New York chapter of NSA. And it was remarkable how successful he was as an entrepreneur. And I asked him, what's the one thing that you can relate to your success? And he said that every night when I lay in bed, before I close my eyes, I ask myself, what is the one thing I'm working on? I need the question to, what's the one thing I'm trying to solve? And then he goes to sleep. And invariably the answer comes to him either that night or sometime during the next day. And he wakes up and he has an answer. Why is that? Because when we go to sleep, we go from the conscious to the subconscious. So there's things happening inside of your mind and your brain you're not even aware of. So, and it's not about negative, it's not about sitting there say, if it's a negative thought before you go to bed, then it's not going to work, because you'll just stay in the negative realm.
Right.
But if you're using what you are all about, Brian, which is vision, and you say, okay, I want to go here, but I'm stuck here. What do I do? How do I get over that hump? That's what you're looking to do. So my practice every day is simply every night as I lay in bed, what's the one thing I want to solve? What's the one thing I want to accomplish? And then I just go to sleep.
Wow. So give me an example of something you've not wished for, but put into your head, before you went to sleep. You're thinking of something. I don't know how I'm going to afford this place in Florida. Maybe it's something like that. Give me an example of what you have ruminated on. I call it rumination.
Yeah. So it's hard to find one specific one right off the cuff, but I've been in situations, for example, where I may have had a relationship that's had some stress, and I'd go to bed and say, how do I work this out? Because this is where I want to be. And invariably the next day, an idea may come, call this person or just see how they're doing or do something that leads to a different result. I mean, it's as simple as that. I don't mean to be avoiding by giving you a specific example, but because they're in the subconscious a lot. But I've gone to bed many times, when I said, okay, I need this amount of revenue to invest in this. Where am I going to find it? And then invariably some ideas come to you. It's not that the answer comes to you automatically. It's the idea that move you into action towards achieving that result. Because, we all have the big idea, right? It comes to us in the shower, it comes to us. And there's a great book that's free online called The Science of Getting Rich by Wattles. And one of his things that he talked about when he researched the industrialists of 1913 and what made them so successful where the rest of the world was just followers. And he identified a couple of concepts, including the concept of thought and formless substance. So in other words, thought and formless substance, you have a big idea. So let's suppose in the 1980s when New York wasn't rebuilt yet and there's a lot of dilapidated neighborhoods, you're driving down the street and you see there's one building that has a lot of potential, but it's not a good area yet, 19 out of 20 people will drive by and saying, oh, I have no idea. It's too big. It's not going to happen. It's a bad neighborhood. The one person is going to drive by, see the potential, and he's not going to sit there or she's not going to sit there with a negative, but she's going to sit there and say, oh, this is my vision for what I want to do. And I don't have the answers right now because of the thought and formless substance. Successful people are okay not having the answers up front. So what they do differently is they allow that vision to stay in their mindset for every conscious moment, every waking moment. And as it stays there, it leads to another question that they answer, and it leads to new conversations. So all of a sudden, you have this idea, this vision, now go to an architect and you give it to them, and they take that vision and put it into a beautiful picture that you can touch and feel now. And then you get the contractors involved, and that's how it goes. So it's allowing yourself to live in a space where you don't have the answers, keeping your vision in your waking moments in your conscious mind all the time. That will lead to new questions, new ideas, and that will propel you most of the time to achieving what you want in life.
Okay. I get it. Is this the book that you mentioned?
The Science of Getting Rich by Wattles, Wattles. It's the science of getting rich. I'm sorry.
Oh, the science. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll get it. So while we're on that subject, what do you do daily to bring yourself clarity?
I have to exercise, because I can become a victim of my own thoughts like everybody else does. So, I try to walk a lot, 3 miles, do whatever. I will get up in the morning and I'll just sit by myself for 5 minutes and just, be quiet and see what it is I want to do, not do.
Yeah.
And the moment that I get ideas or negative thoughts as to why it can't be done, I'll go on a walk and just think about what I want and just let it percolate.
So you're big into percolating or ruminating, whatever you want to call it. So that seems to be one of the things that you keep coming back to as well.
Right. Well, rumination, I guess, is a good thing because what I bring to my clients, I'm 5 steps ahead of them to see where they need to go. But like anything else, any strength that's overused can become a weakness. Mm-hmm. So you can't ruminate too much because you'll never be in action.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. So tell me, what's the next level of your success look like?
Well, between the surgeries that I had on my back and then the open heart procedure in October, I'm dealing with the issue like a lot of people is what's significant. When COVID came, talk about vision, there's a Yiddish phrase that says, man plans and God laughs. So we all thought we knew what we wanted. And then COVID interrupted all of our lives and it forced a lot of us to sit there and say, well, is that vision really accurate now? And what it taught me was when COVID came, I figured, okay, I was 60 years old at that time. I was 63. My plan at 60 was fly as much as I can, do as many speeches as I can, and make the money back, and then, go in retirement. COVID taught me, well, you may not have till 70. You never know. Life's too fragile. Why can't you live it now? So that speeded up my trip to Florida, which I'll still take. And I look at my business, and where I'm at right now is I have a tremendous impact that I need to make on the world. That's what I'm here for, which is helping people gain velocity in their lives, away from the stories that stop them, away from things that we do behaviorally to get in our way. So when they get to a certain point in their lives, whether it's the end of their life or an end of a period, they can look back at themselves and feel fulfilled.
Yeah. Well, in terms of being fulfilled, I mean, you have a lot going on. What do you do to recharge?
Well, I mean, I can't do it now because of cold and, I got 1 more month before my restriction ends, but play golf. That's my get out there for 4 hours and just not think about anything. But it's usually active, going on a 15-mile bike ride or something. That's usually what I do to recharge myself.
Well, that's awesome. So I'm going to ask, at this point in the conversation, we've talked a little bit about vision, and your vision is very important, and obviously, it means a lot to you. But I wonder about your blind spots. And we all have blind spots. We all have blindness in our lives. How do you see your blind spot, or do you have people with you that help you to see your blind spots?
Yeah, so I have a team. I have a marketing team that's basically 1099. They have their own businesses. We meet every week. My blind spot is when my negativity can get in the way, saying that I'm a fraud. And, and they'll sit there and say, but, you need to do this. Well, I'm not sure if that's going to work. Well, look, you're great on camera. So they're giving me the past history of what we succeeded in, reminding me when my mind doesn't want to think about it. That gets me over the hump. So it's really my team and my daughter, because we have that relationship where we can help each other with our own blind spots.
Your daughter helped you, huh?
She helps me all the time, whether I want it or not.
Well, I didn't put up your website. You're ronkarr.com.
Yes, it's ronkarr.com. It's spelled Karr. So it's https://ronkarr.com.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'll put this on across the bottom here.
And if they want a book that they want to read that helps them deal with the issue of vision, they can get the Lead Seller Get Out of the Way book, which is a great book of influence. And then the new book, The Velocity Mindset, comes out in April.
Lead, sell, or get out of the way. Lead.
Right.
I'm going to type these in here. So lead, sell, or get out of the way.
And they can get it on Amazon.
Okay. Let's see. So I'll get this and see if this looks right to you. Save. Here we go.
Yep.
Is that it? Okay. And the book that's coming out soon. And what's that name?
In April, The Velocity Mindset.
The Velocity Mindset. So that takes the growth mindset to the next level.
Yeah. And the point of the book is all of us could achieve more if we get in tune with the barriers we create for ourselves that prevents velocity. And the key definition of velocity, many people think velocity is just about speed. If that's all you define it at, then you'll be working fast at a lot of things that won't get you to where you want. You'll have burnout.
Yeah.
True velocity is based on the physics definition is speed with direction. And direction is your vision. And if you don't have the right vision, any road will get you there. That's why it's so important while you're doing such a powerful job, Brian. People have to see and visualize what it is they want to achieve before they start looking at the actions. Because how many times, we have all this technology and we're working so much harder, but at the end of the day, how many times do we say, I did all this work, but I got nothing done?
Right.
Because those tasks wasn't supporting where they want to go passionately.
Yeah, they all have to be in alignment.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you being on today, and this has been phenomenal. So, if there's anybody that has a comment, please put them in the comment section. If there are questions that come up, even if it's after the call is over, put them in the replay, and I'll make sure I get with Ron, and we'll get those questions answered.
Excellent. And Brian, keep doing this because people need to have a great vision, and you're just one great example of how to do that.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to send you to the green room. I'm going to close out our show, but thank you again so much for being on.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
All right. Take care, Ron. Wow. What another great call. Oh, my gosh. There's just so many people that are so willing to give into all of this that we have set up here with Vision Alignment. So I can't tell how appreciative I am for Ron for coming on, but also all of you being in the comment section and online, with everything that you're doing has been phenomenal. So tomorrow, it's Wednesday, so tomorrow we're going to have me. I'm going to be on to give the Vision Alignment and talk a little bit more about the story, a little bit more about how things are going, and also to continue to do everything we can to make sure that we all understand our vision. So I'm going to invite you to join me in my YouTube channel to make sure that you understand that all those videos that we've created over the last few months are all on the YouTube channel. And also the other thing is the website, the membership website. That's important for us all to be a part of as well. So if you're not a part of the Winking with Wagner crusade, if you will, be a part of that. Also, make sure you sign up for the website. And, there's also some other new stuff that's coming along. And I would say one of those things is the Winking workbook. So make sure you get your Wink workbook and understand how important it is to know what makes us unique. So having said all that, thank you very much for joining. And as always, keep one eye on the road. Bye.